This is Viterbi Voices.
Coming to you from the University of Southern California, Viterbi School of Engineering.
We're here to give you the inside scoop on research, classes, student life, and so much more.
All of these shared by students, faculty, alumni, and other members of the USC community. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Viterbi Voices. I am Maya, one of your co-hosts. So unfortunately, our other co-host, Paul, the Executive Director of Undergraduate Admission here at Viterbi, he is not with us today. There's a very long story behind that. I've been having some computer issues. And yeah, it's just been a really busy time at USC. Paul just got back from a lot of traveling. Midterms are starting, but yeah, I forgot to introduce as well. So for those of you whose first time this is listening, welcome, first of all. And second, I am currently a senior at USC studying industrial and systems engineering, and I'm originally from Hudson, Wisconsin. But I have a very special guest for you guys here today. She perhaps is like the most special guest I will ever have on. But that is
stop.
And that is my roommate of 4 years now here at USC. Very brilliant engineer. I'm very excited to have this conversation with her today and to introduce her to you guys. If you are a really committed listener to the Viterbi Voices podcast, you might have heard her in a previous episode, but this one is all about her. And yeah, but without further ado, I'll have her introduce herself.
Maya is too nice. Hi, everyone. My name is Claire, and I'm from the Bay Area. I'm a senior as well, computer science and business. So at USC, that is a joint degree. So CSBA, 1 degree, 2 schools, kind of cool. And yeah, that's my introduction. I live with Maya. I've lived with her since freshman year. So she's incredible. I've seen her make so many podcasts. So I'm very excited to be here. I know all about her computer struggles. We were dealing with that together yesterday. So happy to be here and happy this podcast can happen.
Yeah. And Claire, in case we have any dedicated California listeners, where are you from in the Bay?
Yes, I should be more specific. So I'm from the Bay Area, specifically Saratoga, but that's South Bay. So Cupertino, Wascata, Saratoga area near San Jose.
Yeah. So for context, we have a lot of people from California and the Bay at USC. There are definitely a lot of people from out of state, but even being at USC, this is my 4th year, and I'm starting to learn the different places in the Bay. Maya
is a honorary Bay Area girl at this point. She's met so many people from my hometown. My high school was actually the number 6 feeder school to our to our class at USC, which is kind of wild for a public school that's in a geographic like 6 hours away. But yeah, here we are.
Yeah, very exciting. Well, super happy to have you on the podcast. So before we get into this, would you mind giving a quick background about like what made you choose engineering? And I guess I know personally, like you didn't originally come into USC as an engineering major. So like what did that process look like for you? And then how did you land on computer science and business?
Sure. Okay. So way back when, 4 years ago, when I was sitting in some of your guys' shoes applying to colleges, didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And I didn't want to put kind of all my eggs in one basket. So I applied to different majors at different schools, basically did business, econ, math, CS, data science at whatever school. And I applied to like 25 schools basically. And so USC, I got in early with Maya and I got in as a math major. So I started in math and then I actually got into other schools, got in for majors that I was a little more excited about. And, but I really loved USC. I love the culture. This sounds super generic, but at USC, people are smiling when they walk around. And I think that says all you need to know. And so got to USC during the summer. I was really excited and researching a bunch, looking at the different classes, talking with my parents, friends, whatever. And I just felt that math was kind of too theory for me. And I wanted something that was more collaborative, communicative, but also more hands-on, the satisfaction of seeing your code and seeing it work, or the horrors of when it's been hours and it's not working. I've done it both. But yeah, and so I wanted something that felt like it was a little more clear kind of like its applications in the real world too. So I decided I wanted to switch to computer science and business. At the time, I don't know what it exactly looks like right now, but to switch into Viterbi, you had to take 3 CS classes and a math class. And so I did that all my fall and switched after my fall semester freshman year. So very easy. And I had to get a 3.5 GPA or higher. So very easy switch. Was not behind at all, was actually kind of ahead because I prioritized my CS classes. And it's been great. No complaints. Definitely the right decision. Also, I will say I am so biased. I love USC, but having a joint degree where you can do computer science and business is a very rare major that not a lot of schools have. Usually both majors are pretty big and you just can't even do a double major in 4 years. So it's such a cool opportunity that USC allows that to happen.
Yeah, I completely agree. I know a lot of people in the CSBA program where it's like, I don't know, you want a little bit of both. And I think it really is the best of both worlds. And also love how you were talking about like the theory versus like hands-on for the education. And that was a reason why you chose it. Because for context, that's like one of the goals of this podcast. I've heard a lot of prospective students who ask questions about like, oh, like what does it actually like look like in the projects, or I mean in the classes? Like, is it project based? Is it theory? And it's like, well, the answer is it's a little bit of both. But I thought it would be really valuable to have you on here to talk about like your experience in the computer science and business classes, like what that's actually looked like, and like walk us through some of the projects that you've had the opportunity to do. Because I personally know that like they're really cool. Like at Viterbi, we have the opportunity to do a lot of really impactful, like pretty large scale projects within our classes. So that's something that I definitely think stands out about USC. So yeah, without further ado, would you mind walking us through like which CS courses you've taken, or just whatever you think works best to explain this?
Sure. So the CS classes for specifically CSBA, if you're just a straight computer science major, you're taking a little bit more comp sci classes. But the ones that you both have overlap, you're taking the exact same ones. And within those, the way I would divide them is kind of 2 categories. Ones that are more about the theory, the algorithms, learning that fundamentals of computer science. And then the ones that you're building the coding skills and are more project-based. You have programming assignments every 1-2 weeks, etc. So you start off at USC in C++. And then you move to Java, and then depending on what tech electives you do, you might pick up some others. So right now I'm in Introduction to Artificial Intelligence, the big thing that everyone's doing these days, and I'm learning Python, so that's pretty cool. And but I started in C++ with CSCI 102, or actually I skipped out of that with my AP. But CSCI 102, 103, 104.
Yeah. And CSCI, that's computer science, right?
Yeah. That's the acronym. And those are very much 1 or 2 weeks, very structured. There's, your test cases, you're passing them. Everyone's looks the same, hopefully, if you're getting them right. And you're there to just kind of learn the basic fundamental skills of, your for loops, your while loops, how to implement different data structures, etc. And then the next ones that I thought were really cool were the Java ones, and that's 201 and 310. And 201 is Introduction to Software Development, and 310 is Software Development. Those, the first one, 201, you're having bigger programming assignments. They're more like a month or 3 weeks rather than a 1 to 2 week turnaround. And then the final summation of that class, you don't have a final exam, you have a final project. So that's with like 5 to 6 people, and you come up with a web application idea, you implement it, you have your specs, and that's really exciting because that's kind of your first autonomy in your CS program and what you're coding.
And do you normally take that sophomore year, like 200 level, normally around there?
Yeah, some people take it fall of junior year. I took it fall sophomore year. And some people take it by itself or in conjunction with 270, which is like a theory one.
Okay.
But yeah, so that one, I can talk about that project. We did GitHub, which is the play on GitHub. Hilarious. absolute knee slapper. We were really proud of that back then. But basically it was an application to connect. It's a web application. So you would basically start it on your browser. And it connected its end users or whoever's on the app with volunteer opportunities around that have been just posted by other people. So you could either post application or you could post events or you could sign up for events or view events. There are some search functionalities. And it was a little bit more kind of elementary compared to the next class, which I can go into. But it was really fun. It was with 5 or 6 other people. So that's your first like team coding assignment too, which is interesting. You know, you're figuring out the logistics of GitHub and going crazy, figuring out what branches and merges mean and all that stuff. But that's probably also like one of your more real applications towards, or ones that mirror more the real world, right? You're never, and a lot of times in the real world, right? You're working with other coders and people are changing the code and adding it and putting it back to the cloud and all that stuff.
Yeah, I like how you guys had the opportunity to learn all of those skills like GitHub and whatnot. Like you were just kind of thrown in, and it's like you learned by doing, which I think that's really valuable because it's, I don't know, more so mirrors like what might happen if you're working in the real world. And like, let's say there's like a new language or like some new technology that you have to learn. Like a lot of times there won't be a lecture. And I think like for people who learn better by doing rather than by hearing, like I think that caters to them.
Definitely. That I will say is kind of also the first time where you're not taught most of the stuff that you need to use in that. You know Java, but you've never worked with APIs before. You've never worked with frameworks before. And that's all stuff you have to figure out by yourself. So, but it's okay because you have 5 or 6 other people to trauma bond with or, you know, work really hard with, figure it out together, help each other out. And yeah, it's a really good learning experience. And definitely what you're saying, right? I mean, that happens all the time in the real world where you're using new frameworks, technologies, IDEs, whatever, and you have to teach yourself how to do it.
What's an IDE?
Integrated development environment.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
just clarifying personal reasons, you know, just curious, but you can see ISE, we don't learn the same things in industrial engineering as we do in CS. So I'm always curious to hear what's up. Okay, so that was the first like big project-based class in the CS curriculum. So do you want to walk through the second? You were saying is like super fun?
Yes. The second one I think is so much cooler. Both are very cool, but this one is really exciting to me. So the next one is 310, that's software development. And that class this is the point of the class. You have one coding assignment to kind of learn how to use Android Studio, which is the IDE, the integrated development environment. But besides that, everything else is this project. And this one I really enjoyed because you're working in a much smaller team. You're working with 2 other people. So you just have a lot more responsibility, things you have to learn. But at the same time, I think it's a lot more emphasized kind of following agile. So you're doing those 2-week sprints, you're doing stand-ups every day or every other day. And there's a client, and the client is one of your TAs, and they tell you what specs they want. So you have to ask questions, clarify the specs. You can change the specs, right? But then you start having these very real life scenarios where it's like, okay, maybe this is harder to implement, so we're going to change it. But if the other team's doing it and they're doing it better, they're going to win, or the client's going to choose their app over yours. So that was really cool. And then you're doing your architecture designs, you're doing your tech specs. And so there's just so much emphasis too on the process and making sure you're doing that right instead of just kind of the final project and the code.
Yeah, I love hearing about that. Are these things, like these elements, all, have you worked them into your resume, like listing the different projects and having like, I don't know, the methodologies and things?
Oh yeah. Talking about the different frameworks you're using, the IDE, the, working with the client, GitHub, all that stuff for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. So then you were also mentioning, so those are like 2 big intro to like these larger scale project-based development classes. So then you have, if I'm not mistaken, like electives to choose from. So like, what does that look like once you finish, software development, that class? Like where do people go from there?
Yeah. So there's a capstone project. I haven't done it yet. And there's 2 types and you can pick which one you want. And then there's also your technical electives, and CS and CSBA both have to do them. I think CSBA does have to do a few less. And there's a wide range of course options. So you can really choose which one's tailored to what you're interested in. CSBA, the way it works is that you have to take 3 electives, and 1 for sure from business, 1 for sure from comp sci, and then the other one can be either or. I'm only doing 1 tech elective because Maya and I studied abroad, and I could get credit for the business ones, and I couldn't get credit for the CS ones. So that's how that panned out for me. But I'm doing artificial intelligence right now, and it's very exciting. I'm doing I never even said this part. I'm doing my master's at USC too in computer science in PDP. And so I'm planning on doing a more artificial intelligence focus. So this tech elective is very exciting. But then we're back to the learning. This is more of a theory class, but it still does have programming assignments every other week. But then that's more learning, how to do search algorithms and the coding skills rather than kind of the exploration of how you want to code.
Awesome. And yeah, for those of you who are unaware, PDP stands for Progressive Degree Program. And it's what a lot of students at USC, particularly Viterbi, choose to do. It's where you can get an accelerated master's. And some people do it in 4 years. Some people add an extra year. Some people add an extra semester. But the point is that it's shorter than a typical master's degree. Yeah. So Claire's going to have 2 degrees when she graduates.
Yes, I'm very excited. I also am excited this is going to age Maya and I, but we got into USC and started USC during COVID. So I'm excited to have 1 more year here, especially with our football team doing so well. Fight on. But yeah, the progressive degree program is awesome. You do get your master's in a shorter period of time. The application process is way easier versus if you were going to another school. And if you do have a scholarship and you start taking classes in undergrad, that applies towards your master's degree. So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, exciting. Well, so that is CS. Yeah. Do you know if like the master's courses, just out of curiosity, like a lot of them is it kind of the same as undergrad, or are they more or less project based, or do you not know?
Well, so for CS, there's 1 class. If you're a CSBA, and I'm sure just regular CS, and you're going into your master's in CS, it's 5 classes. 1 is required. Everyone takes it, and it's analysis of algorithms 570. That's going to be more theory based. And I've heard it's pretty similar to the algorithms class we take, in undergrad. And then the other ones, there's, again, that long list of class options, and you choose 4 from it. And you can specialize in whatever. There's natural language processing, there's computer vision, there's robotics, there's artificial intelligence, there's everything. And so I'm sure there's also some autonomy in choosing more project-based ones or more theory-based ones.
Okay, awesome. And now I have another somewhat difficult question coming at you. And this is something that I think some students are concerned about coming into USC is they say like, well, what if I have a bunch of experience in computer science, like what if I'm already like absolutely just like pro developer, I know like all these languages and stuff, like will I don't know, because students are concerned, like, will they still be challenged at USC? So how have you seen that play out in your classes with like different levels of experience with computer science coming into college?
Interesting. So first of all, if you are really good at coding, you've came in, you have tons of experience, you can test out of the beginning coding classes. And so I had a friend from high school who came here, and he started like 3 classes ahead in the CS program. Or if you took AP computer science and you get a 4 or 5, you can test out of, or you just automatically get out of CS 102, which I did. So there's that first. Second, I think you're going to be where I see kind of the playing field even out the most is the more theory-based classes, because, you know, you may have learned how to code in C++ and you can create an app. That's great, but you probably haven't done greedy algorithms in your free time and learning all of that stuff. So I think in those classes, you're going to be challenged no matter what. And if you're not challenged, you can do the harder problems in the textbook. You can go to office hours. The professors will love you. You can sit there and talk about, you know, all the theory you want, and you'll be completely fine in that regard. In the coding classes, you might get higher grades, and that's great. But first of all, I think there's a lot of extracurricular opportunities to explore that and to get ahead and to do some really cool things. I mean, Maya's in a club that would be great for that. But, you know, you can be a course producer. You can get a job teaching other people CS in their classes. And I think that, I mean, if you have the initiative if you're finding your classes easier, if you have the initiative to try harder things, to do the extra credit, to talk to the professors, you will always be challenged.
Yeah, and I also think you'll find other people who are like at your level as well, like whatever level it is that you come in. You know, if you've just been passively interested in engineering, but you've never actually like done any computer science and you're studying computer science like your first year, like you'll find plenty of students who are just like you in that same boat. But also like if you've been coding for 8 years and you come into college, like I guarantee you will not be the only person at Viterbi who has been doing that. And even then, like there's upperclassmen who have these like fully launched startups and are like wildly successful with their computer science. So I think like there's a community for whatever level you're at, and you can challenge yourself to whatever extent you want to.
Maya articulated that so beautifully. And yes, I thumbs up and heart and exclamation point everything that Maya said.
Okay,
exactly.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel that way with engineering in general. You know, like a lot of people are really, really scared coming into it, or like some people are pretty confident and like, I mean, maybe even some of the students who apply are like cocky, like, oh, what do you have to teach me? Like I already know all these things, and it's like, I mean, college is so much more than just like the classes you take and like what you're learning there. Like you're doing projects and you're working with people and learning from them, and yeah, it's ultimately about like whatever fits the best. But I'm a firm believer, like USC is a huge school. You will be challenged. If you would like to be challenged, you will be challenged. And after Viterbi, honestly, even if you don't want to be challenged, then like I'm like, I don't know if engineering's a great place, honestly. Like I think it's just pretty universally challenging, and like that's the beauty in it. Like we're learning so much, and we're collectively doing hard things. And yeah, that's why like the graduates are so successful and why it's such a fun place to be at. You know, everybody's passionate.
Exactly. And computer science does create kind of an interesting situation where, you know, if you're a physics major or you're an English major, most people that are majoring in that have taken a physics class or an English class before, right? And CS is such a skill that if you haven't taken the classes, right, that skill is just completely undeveloped. So you do have a range of experiences, but like Maya said, there is a community of people that haven't coded much, and there's a community of people that have been coding for 8 years, and you will find that, and you can be challenged by that, and you can seek that challenge in a variety of ways. And I promise you are not going to be the best coder in your class. So there will be someone to learn from. So
yeah. Okay. I love that. So I guess so emphasis was on the CS. That's awesome. So as a CSBA major, though, you took some of the business classes as well. Is there like any particular projects that you did in those courses? Like, is there anything in particular that's like been your favorite project-based experience at the Marshall School of Business?
Oh, that's an interesting question. That was a curveball that I should have seen coming.
Just coming up with it on the spot.
Yeah, that's a good question. Projects, I would say, I'm going to answer your question halfway and say that there's a lot of really cool experiences that you get into business school. You do mock interviews where you have to dress up and you're going to get points off if you are not dressed to par for that type of interview. And they're going to film it, and you're going to have to watch that interview, and you're going to have to You're going to read, or first of all, your teacher's rigorous notes on how you can improve your interview skills. And you're going to have to take rigorous notes on how you're going to improve your interview skills.
Sounds humbling.
You do. Yeah, it is. You have, simulations where your answers are recorded and your meetings recorded, and then they pick parts of it and show your entire classroom, and everyone talks about kind of how you proceeded in that part. You get to develop your kind of soft skills through some really cool technologies. Marshall School has a lot of resources. It's been very well funded and has some great donators. And so there's just a lot of it's a really beautiful buildings. You have these fancy cameras and mics and networking opportunities. And so I would say that was kind of if you're talking about more like fruitful experiences in both classes, that's how I would say they mirror each other more. One thing that I will say is that this wasn't really something that was necessarily hard, but it was a cool experience. Is in my marketing class, we had a team and we had to come up with a BuzzFeed quiz, and we were graded based on how many people took the quiz. And
I'm pretty sure I took your BuzzFeed quiz.
Yeah, all our friends took my BuzzFeed quiz, but it was funny because people enjoyed it and they were not happy with their responses, or some of them were, and everyone had something to say about my quiz. So that was fun. But coming up with a strategy on kind of what demographic you're looking for, how you're going to market it. There were people who got their quizzes on the front page of BuzzFeed and had thousands and thousands and thousands of participants.
Dang.
And so, yeah, I was not one of them, but I thought that was really cool to see, and to, see people as you're skating on Truesdale out with like free cookies just so people will take their quiz and whatever their approach was. But
yeah, I forgot that. For those of you who've never visited USC, and honestly, probably the people who haven't been students at USC, you'll see that a lot of times. Like, people will put up tables, and it's normally free food or drink or something, or like a little spin the wheel thing, like you see at carnivals. And it's pretty much like trying to get their either like user requirements, like feedback on somebody's product, or like getting somebody to take a survey or do something for a class. So that's always entertaining to be coming in the main entrance of campus, and I'll see like, or a lot of clubs will, if they're having fundraisers, like I'll see my friends out there like selling donuts before school or something. So that's always funny.
It's very cute.
Yeah. What was the topic of your BuzzFeed quiz again, Claire?
It was what USC Village restaurant you are.
Oh.
So like Cava, Dulce, Spud Nuts. Yeah. Which people have a lot to, Rock and Riley's, people have a lot to say about what they are. We had what even is it? El Giorgiano is the like Italian one.
Yeah.
No one liked that they were called that. So that was no hate, but people found them very offensive.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I think I got Cava, which, for the record, everybody listening, this is a plug for Cava. I probably go multiple times a week. Claire and I are big Cava fans. It's like the Mediterranean Chipotle. It is so good.
A, you are so Cava, and B, it is incredible. And my to give my unsolicited advice, go to Viterbi, go to Computer Science and Business, CSBA, and second, get the Cava app, because you can order to a time and then pick it up, because usually there's like a half an hour line.
Yeah. Though I will say, I don't know how efficient they are, but like there's a reason that there's a half an hour line. It's that good.
It is that good. Oh. Yeah. My part B of my unsolicited advice is to order it 15 minutes before you want it to be done.
So, that's useful. I probably, I'm going to start taking that advice myself. I remember the last time it was a little late, but that's okay. But yeah, I'm thinking, like, is there anything that you think is worth like mentioning, or any last pieces of advice as far as like your experience doing CS at USC and doing all these projects?
I would say start them early. Do not start them in the last day or the day before, because if you need help and you want to go to office hours, the way that the CS classes is there is tons of office hours and people available to help you, but that resource quickly dwindles in the last day or the day before the assignment is due. So that would be That would be one piece of advice. The other would be to kind of think about what you want out of your classes, what experiences you want, and kind of how diverse. So for me, I really wanted diverse classes. I wanted to have classes that were more leadership focused, ones that I was doing marketing in, but I really wanted coding classes as well. And I didn't want it to just be coding.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing if that's something that sounds good to you and exciting to you, then check out CSBA.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Plug for CSBA. Yeah. And I know I didn't mention this earlier in the podcast, but like CSBA, it's not like CS is the only engineering degree at USC that is really project based. I think CS is probably what the most people ask about. But definitely other engineering classes, like almost all of them have a capstone course. So like right now for my industrial engineering capstone course, my group, we're making this drone delivery system at USC to like deliver food from the different restaurants. I'm really in the early stages, but I know that almost all of the engineering courses have this sort of like a full long-term project-based class. But even then, like throughout my time at USC, like I've had a class where we had to write an optimization model to help like an ecosystem conservation model, and promote the diversity in that. And like I've had a course where like I think 80% of it, we were playing this SAP, which is an employee resource planning, just big software system. We were playing this like SAP simulation game where we had to act as if we were a company making cereal, and we had to put in like all the orders for the food and just run different analytics and decide how many like boxes of cereal we wanted to make and where we wanted to sell it, because we were competing against the other kids in our class. So it's definitely widespread projects within Viterbi. Yeah. So not just CS, but once again, thank you, Claire, for walking us through all of the computer science projects that you got to do.
Of course, Maya, you didn't even mention the project that we did together.
Which?
Our RIT 341.
Oh yeah. So in advanced writing, we also have a big group project. So it's not just big coding projects or technical ones. As an engineer, you'll have to write a research report with a group of people. Claire and I, we weren't super thrilled about the topic of our paper. I'm not going to lie. It was a pretty difficult project to do. But it was.
You need to explain what the topic is because I'm laughing.
So our group was entirely like industrial engineers and computer scientists, people who were very interested in computers. And the option, so I don't think we knew what we were getting ourselves into when we chose the topic. Like our professor gave a list of different things. It was a project that had to do with Catalina Island and the USC campus there. Like we were either supposed to promote like a healthy reuse of like their water system, or I think there was something else with electricity. Claire's shaking her head.
As I recall, the only option was basically how to they had a water issue, and basically I guess they had a water issue. So the options were to repurpose black water, gray water, or kind of rainwater. That doesn't really even happen. So black water or gray water.
And for those of you,
you can look that up.
See, we should have looked it up before we chose it, but we were like, oh, this sounds fine, like reusing the water. It was like a 40-page paper, which was, I guess, really good experience in working in a team and trying to understand something absolutely little to nothing about.
No, it was such a great experience because we had 4 people that just do computers and were brought to Catalina Island, which also so awesome and cool that USC has a campus there, and we got to tour it. That was great. But then we're told basically like come up with a plan on how to fix their gray water and black water, and we're staring at a mountaintop and have no idea what to do with that.
Yeah, it's like it's fixing like human waste and like used water pretty much. I think our final paper was pretty good for how technical we were coming into it, but definitely like more of a civil or environmental engineering focus in that project. But yeah, it's not just the engineering courses, we'll practice all sorts of different skills together.
Yes. And Maya and I got to take a class together, which is the most important.
True.
So
True. We also took the class with my twin brother, who is also at USC. He's also studying industrial and systems engineering, and he also knew nothing about wastewater treatment.
yeah, so it was a very fun project.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah, fun, useful, fun to be together. Yeah. So yeah, I think all. Yeah. So, that's, I don't want to talk about wastewater anymore in the project. Oh, gosh.
So many projects. Maya outlined some really cool ones too.
Yeah. So many different projects. If you just like, I don't know, looking around different websites. So I know at Viterbi Voices, we have a lot of different students that will feature, and I think some of them mention the different things that they do in their classes. But if you look at like a bunch of the content that we put out, so we have an Instagram, Viterbi Student, if you haven't checked it out yet. We have this podcast. There are definitely previous episodes where people are talking about projects that they're working on, whether in or out of the classroom, the different blogs at Viterbi Voice. I think it's viterbivoices.com. I should probably know. But if you look up like Viterbi Voices, you'll see a blog page. And yeah, you can definitely check out what some of the students are doing. I guarantee if there's something niche you're interested in, there's probably a student at USC who's done that. Or like there's an opportunity to do it there. So always a fun thing to do. I know I definitely did that when I was looking for different colleges to apply to. But yeah, we will consider this the end of the, like, I guess, academic interview portion. And since Paul isn't joining us on the back end today for an intro or an outro, this episode will just end. But before we do that, Claire, should we recap the USC football game that we just watched?
Yes. And I have a lot of thoughts on this.
Yeah. So it's Saturday the 30th, and USC just beat Boulder playing football today. Very exciting.
Maya and I had the best Saturday morning ever. In my bed watching on my TV the football game, and both of us playing Catan on our respective computers. So,
yeah.
With my cup of coffee.
It's a good Saturday, good time to be an engineer at Viterbi. But we've been very into the football as of late. I'm a little bit jealous that Claire will be at USC for a whole nother year and get a whole nother like football season and just like more time to be at USC. But it's definitely
sure. But Maya will visit me, so that doesn't really matter.
I will. But definitely an exciting time to be a Trojan. I'm sure I'll catch up with Paul about this next week, and we will, I'm sure, chat about the incoming schedule, all the craziness that's about to come. But thank you again, Claire, for joining us. And to everybody listening, thank you for joining us. And we'll see you back next week, next Sunday, with another episode of Viterbi Voices.